Hello again. Like many people, I seldom watch the BBC these days because its programmes are so dreadful. The BBC used to be good as a channel for news, but these days their prejudices are showing so clearly that even watching the news is an irritating and frustrating experience. Of course, I could just stop watching it entirely and stick to Netflix, where the best programmes are found. But guess what? I'll still have to carry on paying for the BBC, even if I never watch it. This is a very odd situation and one quite out of keeping with the modern world. I subscribe to Netflix and watch stuff on there, but if I ever thought that their standards were slipping, I could simply cancel my subscription and be done with it. I cannot, however, do the same with the BBC. Because if I stop paying for my subscription to them and don't watch any more of their programmes, I'd be committing a criminal offence and could find myself in court. Weird, eh? If you live stream something on YouTube, you need a television licence. If you watch the news from Sky, you need a licence. Look at BBC iPlayer, you'd have to have a television licence. The BBC have a finger in every pie and make sure that you can watch nothing at all without giving them some of your money, which is pretty outrageous. This is especially so because more and more people now mistrust the BBC and don't rely upon them to tell the truth. 20 years ago, more than 80% of people in Britain agreed with the statement, "I trust BBC journalists to tell the truth." This year, fewer than 50% of British people agree with the proposition, and who can blame them? I'll give a link to the YouGov survey on this in the description to this video. The reason that people don't trust BBC journalists to tell the truth anymore is because they don't tell the truth. Take the explosion in the hospital in Gaza the day before yesterday. Almost as soon as the news came in, the BBC were announcing it as though it were a fact that hundreds of people had been killed in an airstrike on a hospital, an Israeli airstrike. The reason they announced that is that Hamas told them so. They did not ask Hamas for proof or say that they'd been unable to verify the claim. They simply repeated it. When it gradually became more likely that it was a failed rocket attack, only then did the BBC say they were unable to verify this claim. One BBC reporter asked an Israeli spokesman why they should believe him. Not the kind of thing which a BBC reporter would ever say to Hamas. Most BBC programmes conform to a certain left-wing ideology these days, which is not to everybody's taste. They don't care though, because they know that they will continue to be funded no matter who they irritate or annoy. The BBC are the only news channel and broadcaster which knows that ultimately it doesn't need to try and please its audience, because there will be no bad consequences if people switch off their televisions and stop watching them. It won't mean a drop in quantity at all. They'll still get the same amount of money. This arrangement practically guarantees poor quality programmes because the BBC have no incentive to try harder to make good programmes or to listen to those who are paying for their services and take notice of what they're saying. The system of paying for a national broadcaster was fine in the days of radio or even in the early days of television, but it's long been outdated and counterproductive. In a modern world where most people get their news via the internet, how can it possibly be fair that we are forced to subsidise a single channel in this way, while every other provider of news and entertainment has to compete in an open market?